Hanse, I'm Chris Nachkate. Welcome to APTN National News. Manitoba RCMP have made an arrest in the death of a man after shots were fired in a Northern First Nation last week. On Sunday morning, RCMP arrested 19-year-old Coden Wood from Wasagamack First Nation. Coden is charged with second-degree murder along with a number of firearm offenses and remains in custody. Last Friday at around 12:30 a.m., RCMP received a report of gunshots in Wasagamack First Nation. A 37-year-old man was later found deceased outside a home. RCMP continues their investigation this week. Wasagamack is located about 600 kilometers northeast of Winnipeg. The Manitoba RCMP Major Crime Services are set to announce charges in connection with the death of a woman from the Tutnawa-Zibing Treaty Reserve about 390 kilometers northwest of Winnipeg. Here's T.R. Wheatley with the background.
Melinda Linkslag went missing in 2020. Her body was found in 2023. Now, RCMP are laying charges Monday afternoon in relation to her disappearance and murder. Linkslag was a 40-year-old mother of 6 children. She is believed to have gone to visit someone outside of Tutnawa-Zibing on March 31, 2020. There was a COVID-19 checkpoint in place at the time. She did not make it back. In November 2020, RCMP and Linkslag's family reached out to the public for assistance in the case. Linkslag's family told APTN that RCMP had interviewed over 50 people. Then on June 9, 2023, RCMP announced Linkslag's remains were discovered just days before in an abandoned property in Santa Clara near Roblin, a community close to the Saskatchewan border. The press conference is set to take place at 2 p.m. Eastern. I'll bring you more details in a full report tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. T.R. Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Last week, the body of 14-year-old Samuel Bird was found following a lengthy search. The Edmonton Police Service says one man has since been arrested and charged in connection with Bird's murder. Here's an update. During Friday's press conference, the Edmonton Police Service says last Wednesday, Edmonton police arrested 38-year-old Brian Farrell and charged him with second-degree murder in the death of Samuel Bird. On Thursday at around 4 a.m., Bird's remains were found in a wooded area located west of Edmonton near a farmer's field. Police could only say that Farrell is the father of another youth who was an associate of Bird's. Farrell is also charged with 13 other offenses that include assault, arson, possession of a firearm, assaulting a peace officer, and uttering threats to Samuel Bird's mother, Alana Bird. Police say that the previous unconfirmed videos of Samuel Bird allegedly being attacked by other youth online is false. While the Edmonton Police Service commended everyone who had a hand in finding Samuel, they warned the public, including those on social media, to not partake in vigilantism online in accusing other youth.
We now have a near complete understanding of the circumstances of Samuel's disappearance and death. Any videos purporting to depict Samuel's death are categorically false. The results of our investigation have determined that the family of the accused, Brian Farrell, were not present or involved in Samuel Bird's disappearance or murder. Narratives which have portrayed other youths as being involved in Samuel's murder directly or as a party to the offense have been confirmed false through our investigation. The continued doxing of any youth associated to this investigation is morally and legally inappropriate. While our investigation will continue, this case is now before the courts where it will be tried. Investigations are not conducted on social media, nor should they be tried there.
Farrell will make his next court appearance next Monday. A group of protesters in support of the family of Samuel Bird gathered outside the Edmonton Law Courts in downtown Edmonton this morning. They are protesting against 38-year-old Brian Farrell, who has been charged with Bird's death, and they're calling for justice and accountability. Our reporter Chris Stewart will bring you an update for your evening newscasts in a few hours. The last of 9 people accused in the death of Megan Gallagher has been found guilty of manslaughter. Gallagher, who was murdered in 2020, and her body was found 2 years later near St. Louis, Saskatchewan. The jury was deliberating since last Thursday, and a warning, some of the details here are disturbing. Over the 9-day trial, the jury heard Sutherland's police statement detailing what happened in his garage the night Gallagher died. Sutherland recalled seeing her tied to 2 separate chairs, leaving multiple times, her being stripped out of her clothing and finally returning to find her body under a tarp. The defense argued abandonment as Sutherland did not participate in the beating of Gallagher. A testimony from Robert Bobby Thomas, who was serving a life sentence for second-degree murder in Gallagher's death, stated that Sutherland implied he had hurt Megan with a set of brass knuckles, though he did not witness it himself. Sutherland was also found guilty of unlawful confinement and offering indignity to human remains. Sentencing for 3 land defenders that were arrested while trying to block a pipeline project in northern BC took place last Friday. APTN's Tina House reports.
In December of 2018, the Gidimden checkpoint was established by hereditary chiefs and members of the Wasagamack Nation to stop the Coastal GasLink pipeline from coming through their traditional territory. And what they say is free, prior and informed consent must be given. In January of 2019, a large-scale police operation led to a major clash between RCMP and land defenders, with many arrested. 3 of those land defenders submitted an application to the courts, claiming that RCMP abused their rights. In February of 2019, Justice Michael Tamman ruled that the RCMP CRG did breach their Charter of Rights and abuse the process of the court. His findings also included that the racist comments about the handprints were grossly offensive, racist, and dehumanizing, and undermined the integrity of the judicial process. 3 of those land defenders received sentences in a courtroom in Smithers, BC. For criminal contempt, Slater was given 17 days, Corey Jocko 12 days, and Shaylin Sampson 9 days. Their terms are suspended. However, if there is breaches in the injunction in the next year, they will serve jail time. All 3 are expected to also serve 150 hours community service. The blockade delayed, but did not stop the completion of the 670-kilometer pipeline from Dawson Creek, BC to Kitimat, BC, that began its first export of LNG to Asia last June. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
More affordable housing is coming to Winnipeg thanks to a partnership between a development company and a First Nation in Manitoba. Sav Jonza brings us this update.
This 6-story building will soon answer calls for more affordable housing in Winnipeg. Lacour is a mixed-income apartment block containing 127 rental units, parkade, and retail space wholly owned by Wasagamack First Nation in Manitoba. Their chief, Michael Constant, says there's high demand from off-reserve members for safe housing that doesn't break the bank.
Those demands need to be met on a human basis, because our people are entering into the main society, bringing them off our First Nations and surviving and thriving into these settings, and this is one of the capital ways in meeting their needs. 1,
2, and 3 bedroom apartments will be on offer. About 40 of the 127 units will be dedicated for First Nations renters from any treaty territory. OCN partnered with Freed Home Developments on the project. Their president, Jonathan Freed, says that while most of the apartments will range between $1,500 to more than $2,000 a month in rent, 52 units will be deeply affordable compared to market rates.
In this particular community, the 1 bedrooms will be about $785 a month. 2 bedrooms will be $985 a month, so well below market rental values.
Freed says economic reconciliation is the cherry on top of a wonderful project. He looks forward to more collaborations with First Nations.
We've certainly been approached by other First Nations. I mean, we love doing it. They've got tremendous vision and tremendous trust, and they're excellent collaborators, and we'd love to do more of it for sure.
The $38 million project is supported by a more than $35 million investment by the Government of Canada and tax increment financing from the City of Winnipeg. Lacour plans to open September 2026. Sav Jonza, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Back in August, lightning hit a residential school totem pole in Winnipeg. We'll bring you an update to that story after the break. Welcome back. The Southern Chiefs organization unveiled a residential school survivors totem pole created by artist Charles Joseph in a Winnipeg park 3 years ago. After remaining there, the totem pole was damaged during a thunderstorm this past August. As Julia Ross reports, the SCO has since announced a new plan for the pole.
The story behind this pole is a part of our resilience. It carries the voices of survivors, the memory of those who never returned home, and the strength of our nations to heal and to move forward. As SCO, we remain committed to preserving the totem pole and ensuring that its story continues to be shared in a meaningful and accessible way.
The totem pole has remained standing in Winnipeg's Assiniboine Park since last August's storm. Jerry Daniels spoke about the next steps for restoring the totem pole, but the effects from the damage are not known yet. Daniels says that the totem pole will be removed and placed in secure storage, waiting to be assessed.
Once the assessment is complete, we will work with Charles Joseph and other experts to restore the piece if it is possible, and prepare it for its future home at Wewene Bagakanagan.
Wewene Bagakanagan is a project that is redeveloping the former Hudson's Bay building in downtown Winnipeg. Daniels says that through this restoration, reconciliation will be made visible in the heart of downtown Winnipeg. In fact, Wewene Bagakanagan means it is visible in Ojibwe.
This project will bring together housing, economic opportunity, cultural renewal, and a permanent and dignified home for the totem pole. It will provide a space where its message of remembrance and resilience will continue to inspire generations to come.
Wewene Bagakanagan would provide 370 affordable housing units for families, students, and veterans, as well as creating a public main floor to reflect and honor residential and day school survivors. Daniel says a more detailed construction update will take place in the weeks to come. Julia Ross, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Now to news in Australia. Leaders of Victoria's democratically elected First Nations body say the state's historic treaty heralds an end to centuries of paternalistic policy and signals a new chapter for the entire community. But as Victoria's parliament begins debate on the nation's first treaty legislation, the coalition has promised to tear it up within 100 days if it wins government next year. NITV's Cameron Gooley reports.
A gathering on Wurundjeri Woiwurrung land, a smoking ceremony and welcome at the steps of Parliament.
Wurundjeri is welcome in a general term, or come with purpose. You've all come with purpose today to hear this reading of this bill that'll give Aboriginal and Torres Strait people in Victoria a better, fair go.
Parliamentary debate on the nation's first treaty legislation kicking off, finalised after almost a year of negotiations between the state government and the First Peoples Assembly.
This time for paternalistic governments making decisions on behalf of our people ends with this treaty. Our people will no longer tolerate being the political football that politicians kick around looking to further their own selfish interests.
For the last 200 years, we've had successive governments saying they know best about our business. Countless bodies, commissions and policies set up without the leadership of First Peoples. Even with governments with good intentions, it just does not work.
Key to the statewide treaty, new powers for the Assembly. The proposed framework would make the Assembly permanent and require the government and its departments consult the body on Indigenous policy and laws. It would also create a new organisation within the Assembly to hold public hearings and question government ministers, holding them accountable for outcomes.
We do this not to divide Victoria, but to complete it. Not to take anything from anyone, but to make this place more whole for everyone.
While the legislation has support from Labor and the crossbench, treaty will be short-lived if the coalition wins government in the state election next November.
Not only do we oppose treaty that's passing the lower house today, we will repeal that within the first 100 days.
They've said to the Victorian community that their first priority, if they should have the privilege of holding government, is not to build the future, it's to tear it down.
The coalition saying it will instead create a new government department called First Nations Victoria and an advisory committee.
We have passed legislation in this place before, twice, without opposition. And today we seek to continue that path I invite all members of this place to support us once again and enable meaningful change.
An appeal at this stage unlikely to be heard. Cameron Gooley, NITV News.
We now want to give you the results of last week's web poll questions. Our first question was, would you ever feel comfortable with a nuclear waste disposal site near your community? 83% of you voted no and 17% voted yes. Our second question was, should provinces be allowed to pass laws that could impact treaty rights without consultations? 79% of you said no, 17% said yes, and 4% were unsure. And our third question, a bit of a mixed bag here. The Indigenous Services Minister says Jordan's principle and child welfare are her priorities. What else should she concentrate on? 27% said water, another 27% said housing, 21% said health services, 16% said education, and 9% were unsure. Thanks for all for taking the time to cast the votes there. You can go to our website at aptnnews.ca/poll to see this week's new poll questions. We have more news after the break. Stay with us. On the East Coast, Charlottetown 12, Halifax 14. La Grande River 6, Anujiwak 5 in showers. Saint Jovite 16, Quebec City 13. Toronto 14 and sunny, Sault Ste. Marie 10. Wawa 8, Sioux Lookout 5 and partly cloudy. Churchill 2, Thompson partly cloudy there as well and 3. Rain in Princess Harbour at 4, Winnipeg 7 and showers. Saskatoon 3, showers in Regina at 4. Stony Rapids +1, Buffalo Narrows +3. Rain in Fort Chipewyan at 6, high level sunny and 7. 15 in Medicine Hat, Edmonton 15. 12 in Kamloops, Camel River +9. Bees Lake 5, Smithers 8. Whitehorse 5, Mayo -1. 3 in Fort Simpson, Yellowknife 1 and showers. Sax Harbor -6, Colville Lake -7. 1 in Whale Cove, Chesterfield -2 and sunny there. And Iqaluit +2, Aglulik 0. This Tuesday, Canada's Auditor General Karen Hogan will issue 6 new reports. In these reports will be included a follow-up on program spending by Indigenous Services Canada in previously audited areas. APTN's Fraser Needham joins our Dennis Ward to talk about what we might find.
Fraser, thanks for being with us. Can you tell our viewers what exactly these auditors' reports do?
Okay, well, they basically look at department program spending. So they look at how money is spent, what the goal of the program is, whether it meets the goal of the program, and also if the spending is accounted for. And usually the auditor makes a few recommendations as well.
What are some of the areas of Indigenous services spending that Tuesday's report's going to be looking at?
Okay, well, there's actually 6 areas, but I'll focus on 3 that are probably of interest to our viewers, and that's one is access to healthcare services on remote First Nations. The other one is access to safe drinking water in remote First Nations as well, and then emergency management planning on First Nations.
All pretty key issues. Any ideas as to what the auditor might find in these areas?
Well, I think on the access to healthcare services, they'll probably look at nurses. Nursing shortage has been a big issue, and of course that's affected a lot of remote and northern communities, so whether they're able to find qualified nurses, if there's enough. And also often these nursing stations sort of aren't kind of up to par with what you'd expect to find in non-Indigenous communities, so they'll probably look at that. Also probably look at medical travel. That's a big issue, of course, for remote First Nations, whether people are able to access funding for this travel and if it's being used properly. For the access to First Nations for safe drinking water, of course, a lot of communities are still under boil water advisories. The previous government under Justin Trudeau promised to eliminate all these. It's still a problem, so I assume that will be part of it, and whether if communities can access you have to have the proper infrastructure to provide safe drinking water. And then the last one, emergency management, of course, that's a big issue with all the wildfires this summer. It always seems like the federal government's caught off guard, although it was climate change, they shouldn't be. Probably look at that and how the effects on having some of these communities or First Nations out of their communities for months at a time and spread all out over the country.
Again, Fraser, very important issues. Big question though, do these reports generally make any difference?
Well, the recommendations are non-binding, so that you often find auditors' reports saying the same thing year after year. But at the same time, the auditor is appointed by cabinet, but is not, is pretty independent. So often finds things that that the public or us in the media wouldn't know about. It's really up to us, I guess, in the media what we do with that information. But it can often bring a lot of pressure on, and of course, the opposition could use it on the government to make changes and be more accountable on its spending.
Indeed. Fraser, we'll leave it there. Appreciate it. Looking forward to next week's reports.
And finally for us, one of North America's largest powwows is changing locations in hopes of becoming more accessible. But organizers say the event will be bigger than ever. The Manitoba Pow-wow in southern Manitoba sees tens of thousands of visitors each spring. It's called the Red River Exhibition Park on the outskirts of Winnipeg home for the past several years. But now it will move back to its original location of the Canada Life Centre in the city's downtown core. Pow-wow manager Grace Redhead says the spot will allow for much more seating for those who need it, extra space for dancers to put on their best regalia, and easy access to several bus stops and parking lots. Next year's Manitoba Pow-wow will also now be celebrated in the fall.
Accessibility has always been a concern for us, no matter where we are, to make sure that our elders are taken care of, the dancers have room and space for their belongings. Even just having it downtown, it really makes it more accessible to community members, the volunteers, not having to rely on a transit or catching rides out to our press location. Even though we're moving locations, so many of our other programming that we developed over the years will continue. So we will have Ignite Our Spirit stage just at a different location. We still have the Métis Jig and Jam. We will have Dakota showcases always. All of the great activities and different shows alongside the powwow will continue.
And that's your daytime newscast for this Monday. We're back again in a few hours for your evening newscast with more stories. Please join us then. From our HQ in downtown Winnipeg, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again. Accès.